Hey there, everyone. Thank you for watching. As always, I really do appreciate it. I recently made, in an episode, a pencil post bed. And at the end of that episode, I predicted that I was pretty sure in an upcoming episode, I would make a new side table for that bedroom to match the bed. And sure enough, that is what this episode is going to be about. I'm going to make this side table. It's a classic shaker style side table, single drawer. In fact, the basic design structure for this table I took from this book. This is a book on tables, obviously put out by Taunton Press, had it for quite a while. In fact, this is one of the featured tables in the book, this one, which I made here. And however, when I started off putting this project together, I wanted to do something to kind of make it stand out a little bit, just a little bit different. I've made this style table several times. I made a lot of the projects in this book, actually. But I wanted something a little bit different. So I went on the internet to look for ideas, and I found another maker who has a table similar to this, where the legs were kind of fanned out a little bit. And I liked it. So I thought, I will incorporate that in my design. So how this project starts is I've gone ahead and made this pattern out of 1/4 inch Baltic birch. This is the leg pattern. And I have traced out that pattern on all sides of each of the leg blanks. The wood, by the way, most of the wood, I had to go out and buy some leg stock from Owl for this project, but most of the wood, the rest of the wood I already had from other projects. I bought some leg stock, and I found some nice natural maple I'm going to use for the drawer sides. I'll talk about that in the project. But anyway, the way this starts is I've gone ahead and I've traced out this pattern on the leg blanks, and I'm about to cut the mortises in the legs for the aprons. So with that, let's get started. So now I have gone ahead and I've marked off, traced up the pattern on all 4 sides of the leg blanks, how I'm going to shape them. I've gone ahead and also marked off the mortises I'm going to cut on each leg blank. I've identified legs 1, 2, 3, 4. And so now what I'm going to start doing is cutting the mortises. And the mortice and tenon joints on the 2 sides, right and left side, and the back aprons are going to be haunched. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to cut basically the mortises in 2 stages on each of the leg blanks. And I've left some extra material here on the end of each of the leg blanks. Since I'm working so close to the edge or the end of the blank, I want to leave some extra material just for stability. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut a 1/4 inch mortise from the end of the leg blank all the way to the bottom. Right here, this line is where I'm going to cut the mortise deeper, a 1/2 inch from here to the end. So then I'll do a 1/4 inch all the way, then a 1/2 inch from here to the end. Okay, I've gone ahead and thickness planed some stock down for all the aprons, down to 3/4 of an inch. I've cut them to width, which is 5 inches. So now what I'm going to do is cut the shoulders for the tenons in each of the stock, each of the pieces of the blanks on both ends, before I put the dado set in to go ahead and cut the tenons. All right, I have finished cutting all of the tenons, including adding the haunch, love that word, haunch, to the tops of each of the tenons. For those 2 small rails for the front of the side table, I cut an extra board like this. I'm just going to cut some 1-inch strips out of that for those 2 rails. But now I'm going to work on the side and back rails for the side table, just fitting those in. So, and work on that. All right, now that I have finished fitting all the mortises and tenons, next thing I'm going to do is start shaping the legs. And I've already used my pattern and traced out the cut lines of how I want the legs to look. So I'm going to cut 2 sides at a time on my bandsaw, and then after I cut each time, I'll go over to the bench and use my hand planes and spoke shaves to smooth those cut sides out, retrace the lines that I cut off, come back, and do the same thing all over again to finish it out. All right, I've finished shaping the legs. And so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to glue up the right and left side of the carcass, let that sit overnight and dry, put the whole thing together, and after that I will start working on the top and the drawer. So these have sat overnight. Let's unclamp them and see what we got. So today, the plan is to sand these down. Glue up the rest of the table. I'm going to glue up the blank for the top, then let that dry, and next will be making the drawer. Okay, this sat overnight. Let's see what we got. Went ahead and glued up the top. Okay, new day. I've gone ahead and added some runners and kickers to the inside of the drawer carcass. I'm going to use the kickers to attach the tabletop on the right and left side. I've also gone ahead and added some material along the top of the back apron and the front rail that I will use to attach the tabletop in those areas. I'll make the holes later on in the project. But today I'm going to start working on the drawer. Here is the material I'm going to use to make the drawer. The front will be cherry. Here's a piece I've milled down to about 3/4 of an inch. I cut all these 3 inches wide. And the sides are going to be this beautiful natural maple that I found at Owl. I was going to do just your typical clear maple, but I saw this and thought, wow, this is very interesting. So I thought I'd use this, and I've milled this down to about 5/8 of an inch. And I'm gonna make the drawer using hand-cut half-blind dovetails. I won't really talk through the process I use to cut these dovetails, because I do have an episode on my channel here on how I approach cutting hand-cut half-blind dovetails that you can check out if you want to, but I'll certainly go through it on camera, the process, at least what I use. So with that, let's do it. I am going to let this dry overnight. I can fit it tomorrow. Now I think what I'll do to finish out the day is run the top through the belt sander and perhaps cut it to size. I'm gonna add a little profile around the edge, and we're getting close. All right, sat overnight, should be good. Let's see what we got. All right, looks good. Send this paper and junk off and start fitting. Now I have one coat of a resin modified tung oil in here already. That's dried. I'm now going to wet sand with some 400 grit wet sandpaper here a little bit to smooth out the finish before I put on another coat. And here is the finished product. Came out nice. I like it. I think it will match the bed well in that room. And that does it for me for this episode. I hope you found this useful. If you did, please hit that like button. That's very helpful. And if you have any questions about anything that you saw or didn't see me do, any questions or comments about this project, just put those in the comment section below. I'll do my best to answer as quickly as possible. And if you have not done so already, please subscribe to my channel so you get notifications of future content. And until next time, bye for now.